Hi everyone, welcome to Sweetpea Seeds Inspirations. My name is Sydney and today I am going to be answering the questions that you guys had for me. I just want to stop and say thank you to each and every one of you who have asked these questions. Without your help, I would not be able to make today's video. So again, thank you very much. Now I will be working with the easier questions first and then moving into the harder questions. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Question number 1. What is your favorite color? Well, I have two favorite colors, one being turquoise and the other one being yellow. Why? I really don't know. I just kind of gravitate towards those colors. Now, if you were to ask me about color palettes, then the fall color palette would be one of my favorites. And I also work with a lot of neutral colors when working with my designs. But my two favorite colors are turquoise and yellow. Question number 2, what is your favorite yarn? Well, I really don't have a favorite, I guess, brand of yarn, if that's what you're asking, just because I haven't worked with a lot of brands. I'm a type of person that likes to touch and feel the yarns in person, so I am very hesitant about ordering offline just because looks can be deceiving and I don't know how scratchy something is. So with that being said, and also too, we're in a secluded area. A Joann's, Michael's, or Hobby Lobby is either an hour to an hour and a half away from us, depending on which direction we go. So I don't get to go to Michael, Joann's, or Hobby Lobby very often. But I would say out of all of the yarns that I have worked with, Yarn Bee or I Love This Yarn is one of my favorites. What is your favorite weight of yarn? I love sport or DK weight, lighter weight yarns, just because I like working with shawls and anything that is lace is right up my alley. So DK weight, sport weight, if not lighter, is my favorite. Question number 4, what is your favorite type of yarn? Well, I like working with a lot of the gradient style yarns just because I love the transition between the colors. It's very subtle and not directly right in your face. Boom, color change. The gradient style yarns I do love just because of that subtle transition. I would absolutely love to get my hands on some of the yarn art gradient yarns. I don't know exactly what the names are. Now I have tried using some of the Hobie's, I think it's Dahlia or Cotton Kings. I think it was actually a Cotton King. I'm not exactly sure which one it was, but I didn't like it because the yarn wasn't plied together. It was sitting parallel to each other and I didn't like that, and it was kind of hard to work with. But I would definitely love to get my hands on some of the yarn art gradient yarns. What is your go-to project? It really kind of depends on the mood. I do, like I said earlier, like working with shawls or anything that is lace weight. So I feel like shawls are kind of my go-to project. If not, if I'm wanting something quick to work up, a beanie or a cowl. Question number 6. Can you tell us about your fiber art journey and how I got started? So I do believe the interest spiked in high school, my junior year. I had a friend that occasionally would crochet before the bell rang. And I remember one day specifically, she was working on something. I had asked her what she was working on. She told me that she was working on a crochet slouchy for herself, and I believe that's what really spiked my interest. And then some years went by, so about freshman year of college, I met my husband, so we were dating, and every time I went over to his house, his mom was crocheting, and I believe I stated something to him at one point in time before this that I wanted to actually learn how to crochet. So he sent me down with his mom, and this was back in 2017. He sent me down with his mom, and she taught me the basics, and I remember for hours and hours, that's all we did. And so I didn't do anything after that with crocheting just because I was a full-time student in college. At one point in time, I was working 2 jobs, and so I was extremely busy. If I wasn't studying, then I was working, and if I wasn't working, I was studying, and if I wasn't doing either one of those, I was hanging out with my husband. So at the end of 2017 to the beginning of 2018, my mom had actually mentioned something that she wanted to start learning how to crochet. So I pretty much said, hey, you know, I kind of know the basics. I can teach you those, and then we can go from there. And so we started learning how to crochet together through YouTube. And then we didn't know it, or at least I didn't know it. My grandmother actually knew how to crochet. So we got her kind of more into crocheting once we started. So that was 2018. And then several years went by. I was still a freshman, or not a freshman, but a student in college, and was working and all that. And we ended up having our daughter, which was in 2020. So the summer of 2020, I tried to learn how to knit, and I just could not get it down. So I gave up on it. So I just stuck to crocheting for quite a while. Up until 2021, May of 2021, in fact. I was deep into interior decorating, and I just loved decorating the house and all that. And I got scrolling online and was looking at a few projects, or actually was looking at blankets to put for decoration on the couch. And I seen exactly how it was made and how it was worked up and all that. And obviously it was hand woven. So in May of 2021, that's when I started my weaving journey, just because I wanted to make a blanket for the couch so that nobody could use. So that was the start of my weaving journey. And then about a month and a half later, we were in the transition from moving from West Virginia to South Carolina. And between that transition, I decided that I was going to pick up knitting. So I remember one day I was actually at my grandmother's house. She was on the phone with her sister, and which my great aunt, she was an avid knitter. I think she was the only one that was in the family that knew how to knit. So my grandmother told her sister that I was learning how to knit, and in the September of 2021, they already had a trip planned that my great aunt was actually going to come up to West Virginia, but by that time we were already moved down to South Carolina. Her health was actually declining, so she gifted me a bunch of knitting needles, and those knitting needles are the Chaigu. I will never get up. They will actually be passed down to my daughter once she starts learning how to knit and all that. So that was kind of my knitting journey. And then, or the reason why I started knitting was, for one, my great aunt, but for two, just I needed something else in the transition between moving to West Virginia and moving to South Carolina. But I think it was March of 2020 is when I actually started spinning. And since then, that's also when I started my YouTube channel. So since then, y'all have really seen my progress on spinning and just being in the fiber arts world. So yeah, it's been lots of fun. I'm still learning quite a bit. I'm still, I would say, fairly new to knitting. Definitely fairly new to spinning. I have gotten the overall concept of it, but there's still so much more to learn. Even to crocheting, I'm always learning, and I'm always willing to try something new, learn something new, and just keep pushing forward. So yeah, that's a little bit about my fiber art journey. Next question, how do you decide which stitch pattern to include in your design, and how do you decide what weight to use? So there is a few different things that happen. One being, sometimes I will sit there and scroll through Pinterest, or look through my stitch books and just find that certain stitch that really speaks to me. Once I have found that stitch, then I will kind of figure out exactly what kind of project I'm wanting to work on. Once I have figured out the project, then that's when I go into trying to find the best yarn for that stitch pattern or project. And then sometimes the yarn just kind of speaks to me like, hey, this needs to be made into a shawl, this needs to be made into a hat, and then I will look for a certain stitch and then go from there. So yeah, I have a few different techniques that I use. And then sometimes I have to actually look at what other people have created and then just to get some inspiration, and then I go from there. So next question, if you had only one fiber art hobby, which one would you pick? So this is a hard one because I really love them all. And I feel like I would pick spinning. But the thing with that is, if I could only pick one, what's the fun of spinning yarn and not being able to work with it? So I don't think spinning, as much as I love it and really enjoy it, I don't think I would pick spinning. I would believe it would have to be crocheting. I love knitting, but it's so time consuming. Versus crocheting, I can have, whatever project it is worked up in, a fraction of the time that it would take me knitting. So I would definitely say crocheting would have to be the fiber art hobby that I would pick. So this next question is the hardest question that I've had to answer throughout. And it states, if money were no object, please describe your dream yarn that you would pick. And the reason why it is so hard for me to answer is just because even though I have worked with many different fibers, what I have worked with is only a fraction of what is out there. So trying to base my decision off of fibers that I haven't worked with and fibers that I have worked with, it's just one of those questions that you really have to think about and maybe do some research as well. So if money were no object and I had to describe my dream yarn, the fiber that I would want included and how I based my decision or my answer off is either fiber that I would like to work with, sheep that I would like to own in the future, or just luxury fibers. So one of the fibers would be vicuna. Yes, we are starting off strong. If you don't know what vicuna is, it's one of the rarest fibers to get your hands and expensive fibers to get a hold of, because it comes from a vicuna. If you don't know what a vicuna is, it's similar to a llama or alpaca, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they are located somewhere in South America, and getting your hands on these animals is hard. They only get sheared about once every 2 years, so their fiber is fairly hard to come by. But I would love vicuna. Yak is a fiber that I would love to work with in the future. I've heard it's very lovely, very delicate, and super, super soft. Angora is another one, and I would not mind owning a few Angora bunnies. Their fiber is super, super soft, and it is considered a luxury fiber. California red wool. A California red sheep is one of the sheeps that I want to own in my future. They are so adorably cute, especially as little lambs. They are redheads, and like I've stated before in somebody else's live, I am a sucker for a redhead, and if you know, my husband is a redhead. So I am a sucker for redheads. But when you actually shear their wool, the coloration of the wool is called an oatmeal, meaning that it's got like a cream color to it, but it's also got some red undertones. I would definitely recommend researching them and looking them up because they are one of the most beautiful sheep that there is out there. So I would definitely want some California red wool in my yarn. Pashmina. I don't know why I put this on my list, but I would like to work with Pashmina. I think it's another luxury wool as well. I'm not for sure, but when I was doing my research, which was a few weeks ago, for whatever reason, I did put Pashmina down. I would definitely like silk to be in there to give it some luster as well. And silk, when it's blended with wool or different fibers, it is easier to work with. And then the last one would be a Valet black nose sheep. I have not worked with their wool, but their wool looks so soft and it almost has a sheen to it. So I would like to try some of that. And if I could get that all in a gradient style yarn, even better. So last and final question, what are some of my future goals? So specifically for this channel, I am currently 55 away from 1500. So we are getting very close there, but I would love to reach 2000 by the end of this year. If it happens, it happens. If not, it is what it is. I would eventually at some point in time like to be monetized and start memberships, but again, just one step at a time and letting things go as they are. Another goal is I am wanting to expand my Etsy shop. It's something that I would really like to start as a business. I am very passionate about dyeing fiber and just being in the fiber arts world. So to expand my Etsy shop would be amazing. That is more of a long-term goal than it is a short-term goal. And again, taking one step at a time and letting things just flow as they are. But that is all the questions that were asked. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for asking these questions. And without you, I would not be able to make this video. If you do have any other questions that you would like to ask, you can ask those away at any point in time, and I would love to answer them. But that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a like, share, comment, or subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.